They tell you that age is just a number, but that's a lie told by people who are still young enough to count their birthdays on their fingers. When you reach the high altitudes of life, the thin air of the 80s or 90s, age isn't a number at all. It's a weight, a backpack filled with every year you've ever lived, every joy and grief and ordinary Tuesday folded inside it, and let me tell you, those years get heavy in ways your bones can't explain. I look at the people around me with their smooth skin and fast walk, the way their lives seem to lean forward instead of inward, and I realize they see me as a finished book, a tattered cover yellowed at the edges, something already summarized, already shelved, and they assume the story is over. They speak to me in that high-pitched, careful tone reserved for infants and the dying, asking how we're feeling today or whether we finished our tea, as if language itself must be simplified to reach me, not realizing that I am not just this fragile shell sitting quietly in a chair. Inside this body I am a crowd, a noisy, overlapping gathering of selves who never truly left. I am still the 7-year-old girl who fell out of the oak tree and scraped her knees raw, stunned more by the betrayal of gravity than the blood. I am the 19-year-old who felt the electric shock of a lover's hand at a summer dance and understood in that instant that life could split cleanly into before and after. I am the 30-year-old mother pacing the floor at 3:00 a.m., rocking a crying child in the blue glow of exhaustion, terrified by how much love could hurt. We don't replace our younger selves as we age. We stack them, layer upon layer, like Russian nesting dolls or rings inside a tree. On the outside, I am the grandmother in the chair with folded hands and measured breaths. But inside that little girl is still peering through my eyes, still surprised by how quickly daylight slips into evening, still wondering when exactly it all got so late. There is a strange invisibility that comes with being old, not the blunt sting of being ignored, but the softer, crueler erasure of being spoken around instead of spoken to, of sitting at dinner tables where children and grandchildren discuss you as if you're a lamp. They might move to improve the room, whispering about confused days or fading hearing, and I want to scream that I am right here, that I hear the cadence of your judgment and the false kindness in your lowered voice, that I can see the pity hiding in the tilt of your head, that I am still the person who knelt on the floor to teach you how to tie your shoes and stayed up late rehearsing words to soothe your first broken heart. When you're young, you think the worst part of aging is losing your health, but it isn't. The body's betrayals are loud but manageable, aches you bargain with and limitations you learn to route around, while the true ache is quieter and sharper, the solitude of memory, the slow realization that I am the last librarian of a world that no longer exists. Everyone who knew me as a child is gone now, the teachers who shaped my thinking, the neighbors who watched from porches as I played, the friends who whispered secrets under blankets by flashlight, and I alone remember the exact sound the wind made rattling our screen door, the smell of my father's tobacco when he came home tired, the precise shade of blue of my first car, knowing that when I go, an entire universe will blink out with me. Not in flames, but in silence, a terrifying responsibility to carry inside one small body. If I could reach through the fog of time and grab you by the shoulders, you with your packed calendars and someday plans and confident assumption of later, I would tell you to stop waiting, because we spend half our lives acting as if we are immortal, treating time like an endless currency, postponing trips and letters and confessions for a right moment that never arrives. I waited 40 years to see the mountains of the Pacific Northwest, 40 years of brochures folded into drawers and maps, pinned to dreams, always delayed by mortgages and promotions and kitchens that needed fixing. And when I finally arrived, my knees were too weak to climb, and my eyes too clouded to follow the eagles, seeing their beauty through a car window and a veil of regret. The things you postpone are not preserved. They are quietly taken from you. Nature doesn't wait. The people you love don't wait. And time is a river that never pauses, leaving you not with a lifetime, but with a scattering of moments, many already carried downstream. I talk to the dead, not in madness, but in love, telling my husband each night about blooming roses, late mail, and how I miss the way he used to whistle without realizing it, an act of defiance against the idea that love ends when a heart stops beating. Where I once feared death as a dark room with no doors, I now meet it with curiosity, believing as my daughter once did that we become the everything, the air moving through open windows, the rustle in leaves, the warmth of sunlight on a stranger's face, perhaps finding heaven not behind gates but in reunion, with every version of ourselves we ever were and every person we thought we lost, realizing we were never truly separate at all. So hear this advice, simple and impossibly hard. Tell people you love them now, when it's awkward, when you're angry, when it feels too much or too soon, because the only true regrets are the words left unsaid, the apologies withheld, the love muted in the name of pride. And being right, I promise you, is a lonely victory. Call your mother while her voice still answers. Text the old friend whose name still makes you smile. Walk into the other room and tell your partner you are grateful, especially if it embarrasses you, because one day you'll sit in a chair like mine and realize the only things you ever truly owned were the connections you were brave enough to make. There is beauty in youth, yes, but there is power in age, a quiet, earned freedom in no longer chasing the future or bending yourself to the world's expectations, in eating dessert for breakfast, wearing mismatched socks, and noticing the fireflies everyone else rushes past, the geometry of a spider web, the way light bends in a glass of water, the unremarkable miracle of a single breath. Life is not a marathon to be won, but a slow walk through a forest meant to be noticed, and the finish line is nothing to fear, only the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. We haven't learned how to read yet, so go live, go see the ocean, love loudly, get your heart broken and put it back together again. And when you see someone like me with a slow gait and 1,000 wrinkles, don't see an old person. Look into our eyes, because we are still here, still crowded with selves, still dreamers and lovers and firefly catchers, waiting for someone to ask a question, waiting for someone to listen,